Your Phil Steele Plus tour with selections. Another nice winning week last week, highlighted by the Army-Navy game going under the total. I think that was the 15th straight time. And then how about the New England Patriots delivering over Cincinnati last week? A couple of nice winners there. And let's keep the hot streak rolling. I'll have more selections for you today. 4 or 5 free selections for you. Now, the purpose of this is twofold. One, I want to give you free selections. I do a lot of work during the week, and some plays that just miss out making it and inside the press box, I like to put them out here, and they've been doing quite well. Also, I like to show you how to use Phil Steele Plus to its best. As an example, here's Oklahoma's LSU matchup. You could actually go here. The start charts are still in progress for the season. We'll get those updated, but as you can see, you can tell who is the starters on the offensive line all year. I think I was reading that for App State, they have not had a single starter miss an offensive line start due to injury all year. So let's go see how far along the start chart is updated for App State. As you can see, the same 5 starters starting all the games. We'll have these updated for you very shortly for the complete season, but they are updated during the course of the year. Individual player stats, you can see how the players are doing each and every game during the season. Let's go back to a team you care about with Oklahoma and LSU for the playoff. You could see good games, bad games. Look at Hurts had 100 yards here, 100 yards rushing here, 100 here, 100 here. So you could take a look at that during the course of the season. Other things that you can get, the last 40 years' results. If you look at Oklahoma, you can tell who the coach was each year. There's, of course, the John Blake era, which Oklahoma fans may remember. Then the Bob Stoops era. Now it's the Lincoln Riley era. But you can go all the way back to 1976 and get updates on games. You can find out the lines on every game. If you want to know, hey, when's the last time Oklahoma was favored by 35 or so? You've got all that right here at your fingertips. All the way back to 1976. Plus, they started putting totals on games back in 2003 on every game. They put periodic totals in here, but here we keep track of all the totals for every game, overs and unders. Halftime scores, we started update in 2004. I find these really, really helpful. They tell you pretty much how the game was played. Halftime scores since 2004, complete team stats, how they did in conference play. It's all here. Every team, all 130 teams updated there. If you want to get the draft history with the draft coming up, we've got it updated through 2019. How many number 1 picks were selected in each pick. This is every player drafted all the way back to 1937. All this information is at your fingertips on all the teams. So make sure you utilize Phil Steele Plus to its full advantage. Here you can click on a box score for a game and see how the game was played over here. You can see Oklahoma jumped on Houston 21-0. Houston made a comeback in the second half. Houston scored 21 points in the second half of that game. And if you click on like the Oklahoma-Texas game, for example, all of a sudden you get the last 22 years matchups at your fingers, color-coded green, red, all this information available, every team. I put it all here. It's what I use for handicapping. I spend hundreds of thousands of dollars putting this site together. You get access to it at a very cheap price. And, once again, if you do want to join inside the press box, poke around in it, see how it's, or not inside the press box, Phil Steele Plus. The prices are really reduced at this time of year. It's normally $69, $39 right now. Type in the code word winners, take $5 off, get it for $34. And if you just want access to the FCS, this price up here is for college, FBS, FCS, and NFL. Of course, the NFL is going to go all the way through the Super Bowl, $34. And if you want just the FCS, it's $14. We'll get into the FCS. I'll show you what we have updated there. But all you have to do is go to the Phil Steele store for this. And when you go here, you click on the store. And at the store, just click on Phil Steele Plus. You can sign up to inside the press box if you want. FCS access, it's all right here. Type in that code word winners, get $5 off. All right, let's get to our first game today. And we're going to start in the NFL. Nice winner with New England last week. Let's hope we get another winner here. We're going to take a look at a big matchup this week, the Monday night matchup. We're going to look at the Green Bay Packers on the left, and we're going to look at the Minnesota Vikings on the right. Now, as you guys know, I've been picking the Vikings as home favorites. We used them here against Detroit a couple weeks ago. We used them early in the season against Oakland. I believe we used them in one of these games here. The Vikings are an outstanding home favorite, 23-7-1 against the spread at home. But the reason that I like the Vikings here on Monday night is let's take a look at the stats. You know I'm a stat guy. And here we got the Minnesota Vikings on the season. They're plus 34 yards per game. So that's a good number, one of the better numbers out there. The Green Bay Packers are actually being outgained by 35 yards per game on the season. And if you take a look at a couple of things here, the Vikings at home are plus 54 yards per game. Naturally, with a great home favorite record, they're going to be better at home. Look how the Packers are on the road this year. Minus 107 yards per game in road games this year. So they're struggling when they take to the road. Yes, they beat Chicago, but they were outgained in that game. Yes, they beat Dallas, but they were outgained by 228 yards. They beat Kansas City, had a 37-yard edge. The Chargers had a 258-yard edge against them. They got smacked by San Francisco. And even the Giants, they beat 31-13, but were outgained by 13 yards. So they're minus 107 yards per game on the road. If you look at the series history, once again, the NFL, you could take this all the way back. We've got color-coded green and red for the NFL all the way back to 2009. But if you want the series history for a game, you come up top here, and you just click on the opponent for this week. So here's your opponent. You can see that the Packers last year, they lost to Minnesota here, lost. So they've struggled with the Vikings. Earlier this year, they did play in Green Bay, and Green Bay won that game, but only 21-16. They were outgained by 86 yards in that game. So the Vikings, though, at home against Green Bay, take a look at the games. Green Bay went into Minnesota here. They lost by 7. They were outgained by 162 yards. Here they played Minnesota on the road. They lost by 13. They were minus 124 yards. Here they played Minnesota on the road. They lost by 3, and they were minus 21 yards. They're actually 0-3. Minnesota's 3-0 straight up and against the spread at home against Green Bay. And we could find that if you go to the history of this rivalry right here. At Minnesota loss, at Minnesota loss, at Minnesota loss. Once again, the red here means they lost the game. The red here means they did not cover. Packers were favored in that game that they lost by 3 here. So Vikings have won the last 3 at home. Vikings are a great favorite. The Vikings are solid at home yardage-wise. Green Bay's horrible on the road yardage-wise. I'm going to lay the 5.5. Green Bay's clinched a playoff spot. Minnesota hasn't. And this is a big game for the Vikings. They need to win just to get in the playoff. I'm going to take Minnesota minus 5.5 over Green Bay as your NFL play. And once again, all this information is available in the NFL, FBS, and FCS. All right. One quick note here. Bowls are coming up, and I just thought I'd bring up Bowl Mania. Go to the Capital One Bowl Mania site on ESPN, and when it types in groups, type in Phil Steele's ESPN group. Join my group. Compete against me. It's a lot of fun. When you join the group, just click here. You get right to the group, hit join group, and you'll be able to join. We only got about 250 in so far, but we'll get over 1,000 by the time this thing starts. But it's important. That first bowl game is Friday at 2 o'clock. So get on ESPN.com, Capital One Bowl Mania. Hit the Phil Steele group like I just did right here. Or if it says what group would you like to join, type in Phil Steele's ESPN group. Join the group and compete. I've got my 2 entries in. They're locked and loaded. And by the way, I give away these plays. If you're an Inside the Press Box subscriber, I've got one is a conservative one and one's an aggressive one where we go for a lot of upsets, a lot of outright upsets. So you could choose which one you want. But if you do sign up for Inside the Press Box for the bowls, you get my bowl confidence picks. They're up there. They'll be up there today. And you'll be able to see what I got. Go ahead and compete. To throw out the ones you don't like, use the ones you do like. But the Bowl Confidence Contest is a lot of fun, and it's updated like 30 minutes after the game's over. The standings are updated. So please, join the Phil Steele ESPN group. It's fun. It's easy to play. And join today. Compete against me. Compete against everybody else that uses Phil Steele Plus. And it's going to be a lot of fun this football season. That's Bowl Mania ESPN. All right, let's take a look at a bowl game here. And it's a Celebration Bowl. And I bring this one up because it is included in the Bowl Confidence Contest. So you get yourself a little edge here. And I like the game. It's an interesting one. I've got a lot of facts on it for you. We're going to take Alcorn State. We're going to line them up here on the left. Coached, by the way, by Fred McNair. He did a fine job again this year getting them there. These two teams actually met last year in this game. It's the 5th Celebration Bowl. They met last year. It was a close one. North Carolina A&T eked out a 24-21 win. It went right down to the wire. I was sweating bullets. Had them in the bowl confidence contest. They delivered in the bowl confidence contest. But a couple things I want to point out here about Alcorn State that's different this year. Now, last year they had a quarterback here, Noah Johnson. Noah Johnson rushed for 1,000 yards last year, 7.5 yards per carry, a dynamic quarterback. Well, we update the individual player stats for the FCS as well. So let's click on that. You see that Noah Johnson started the year right here, and he played in week 2 as well, but he got injured in week 3, and Felix Harper took over. Now, Felix Harper did a fine job. He was the SWAC Offensive Player of the Year, but the one thing I want you to notice, Felix only had 157 yards rushing versus the 1,000 yards rushing Noah Johnson brought to the table. Now, did that have an impact on Alcorn State? Let's look at the stats. Last year, they rushed for 285 yards, 6.2 yards per carry. This year, 158 yards rushing, 4.2 yards per carry. So a big difference running the football. Another big difference for Alcorn State this year heading in, this one is the sacks. Last year, they had a dynamic sack team, 52 sacks on the year. They sacked the quarterback 13.3% of the time. Now, they lost a lot of players this year to graduation. Only 19 sacks this year. So, not as good running the football, less sacks this year for Alcorn State coming in. Two interesting points to look at there. Also, if we take a look at North Carolina A&T, they come into this in a pretty good spot. They're off a game against NC Central, which they just won 54-0. Held them to 9 points. Their defense playing really good, or 9 yards, 9 total yards for the game. If you take a look at the on-season average game grades, we have Alcorn State playing at a 58.7. NC-A&T is playing to a 69.2, so 9 points better on the season. Look at the last 4 weeks. They're playing at a 58 average game grade right here. They give up 531 yards here, 419 here. They're giving up some rushing yards. And North Carolina A&T runs the football well. Maine Martin with 1,336 yards rushing, 7.8 yards per carry. They're averaging 6 yards per carry. They're going against a team that just gave up 7.4 and 5 yards per carry in 2 of their last 3 games. So I think they're going to be able to run the ball. They've got a better last 4 games at 66.6 to 58.0. My computer's got them winning by double digits, and the average game grades are there as well. And they're only a 2.5-point favorite. So I'm going to go with North Carolina A&T as the play. That is a spread play here for your Phil Steele Plus, but you can play them with a good amount of confidence, I think, in the Bowl Mania contest. Take North Carolina A&T is your play in that game. They're minus 2.5, and I'll definitely like them to win this one outright in the Celebration Bowl. And that one takes place at 12 o'clock noon on Saturday. It's the only game going on. It's the first official bowl of the Bowl Confidence Contest. And so I had said join by 2, join by 12, because this one's in there, and you might want to put some points on North Carolina A&T. All right, let's go to James Madison against Weber State. And this one, James Madison is laying 16.5. Now, if you followed last week's game for James Madison, they only beat Northern Iowa 17-0. They were laying 20. I've also mentioned the under last week. It was definitely an underplay at 17-0. Didn't cover. So you might be disappointed in James Madison, but here's a couple things you might not know. Northern Iowa, who they beat last week 17-0, had 58 yards total offense entering the fourth quarter. James Madison finished the game with a 346 to 114 yard edge. In that game, James Madison fumbled at the Northern Iowa 27, missed a 47-yard field goal, had a 3rd and goal at the 6, intercepted in the end zone for a touchback, missed a 36-yard field goal, and only won the game 17-0. They thoroughly dominated. Northern Iowa couldn't even generate first downs. 58 yards into the fourth quarter. They did gain some yards late, went down 17-0, but clearly James Madison dominated. They just didn't get the cover. On the flip side of the coin, another misleading final here. Weber State beat Montana last week, but they were actually outgained 274 to 113. How'd they score? Well, they were +5 in turnovers. You see the green 5 here? +5 in turnovers, and not only that, they blocked a punt for a touchdown. So while they won the game 17-10 over Montana, they surely benefited from some breaks. +5 in turnovers and a block for a touchdown, outgained by 161 yards. And now their offense, which has 287 and 113. They've got 200 yards per game offense the last 2 weeks, is taking on the best defense in the FCS in James Madison. They are holding the foes to 115 yards per game, below their season average. And if they do that here, they're probably holding them to about 200 yards or less once again. So double misleading final. James Madison probably should have won by more. Weber State very fortunate to win. You look at the average game grades, James Madison playing at an 88.2 level, and Weber State at 72.8. That's even increased if you look at the last 4 weeks. Last 4 weeks, James Madison's at a 94.4. Weber is at 72.3. That's a 21.1 difference. Add in the home field edge, you're looking at about a 24-point difference in the average game grades. Weber State has faced 3 playoff teams in their last 4 games. They got outgained by Montana, 161. They got outgained by Kennesaw State by 21. And they played Montana here. They lost to them 35-16 and got outgained by 31 yards. So they've been outgained in every playoff game. Meanwhile, James Madison has played 2 playoff teams recently and just blown them out of the water yardage-wise. So you got a lot of good factors pointing for James Madison. They still come in number 1 in my average game grades on the season, even above North Dakota State. They've got a dominating defense. They're still at home. Weber State's making a big trip across the country to play this one and playing it on the road. I like James Madison. I like the minus 16. Now, Weber's got a good D. So once again, you'd have to lean towards the under. While they're holding opponents to 68 yards per game below their season average, their offense is gaining 54 yards below what their opponents allow. James Madison allows 264, so that comes down to about 210. Once again, we're not looking for Weber to generate a lot of offense, so I like James Madison minus the 16, and like last week, I like the under 47 as well, because Weber does have a decent defense. I don't think JMU is going to throw up the 42 points that they've been averaging this year, but if they do, they still have a chance of going under, just because I like their defensive domination. I like the fact that Weber only had 113 yards last week. All right, we got Bowl Mania coming up. I showed you how to play that. Now we're going to take a look at inside the press box and what you got going out for the bowls. And I find this interesting. I am going to break down a bowl game right now for you. And the bowl game is going to be SMU against FAU. Now, the first thing I want to tell you, if you sign up for Inside the Press Box, you can get all 40 bowl games and the entire NFL playoffs for $89. $79 with the code STEEL19. Once again, you just go to philsteele.com, and when you're over here, just click on Inside the Press Box. You can go to InsideThePressBox.com and sign up for it as well. Type in the code word STEEL19. That's STEEL19. You get $10 off. $79 gets you 40 bowl games, completely broken down, 4 weeks of NFL playoffs, all for $79. And here's the kicker. You get Phil Steele Plus for free. And I'll tell you what. If you already signed up for Phil Steele Plus and you've been paying for it all year, I'll let you deduct that off the Inside the Press Box postseason if you're not already an Inside the Press Box subscriber. So how about that for a deal? Just give our offices a call for that. But once again, get Inside the Press Box, $79 right now. Take you all the way through the final, take you through the Super Bowl and get you all 40 bowl games, every playoff game for $79. But let's see what we got going on this thing here. If we go to Inside the Press Box, we take a look at the press box for SMU and FAU. This is what you get for every team. You get the projected box score. You get my complete write-up. You get the individual leaders. Individual leaders, just use philsteele.com. We're going to take this out next year because you can get it right here on philsteele.com. But I'm going to click on SMU. Let's go to FBS team pages, FBS, and we're going to click over here, FBS. Now, I always put the visitor on the left. So I have to put SMU on the left this time. Why? Because the game's at Florida Atlantic's home field. So Florida Atlantic does rate a home field edge here. Now, in the magazine, I don't even give them a 3-point home edge. It's a 2-point-something home edge, so do factor that in. Didn't give them the full 3 points during the regular season. And for a bowl game, you don't have all your season ticket holders here, so it's not even going to be a full Florida Atlantic complete home field crowd. So give them about a 2-point home edge here, maybe 2.5. And that's what I factored in. But when we take a look at Inside the Press Box, oh, wrong one, sorry about that, you're going to get a checklist on every game. And what I've done is I've looked at the quarterbacks, I've looked at the running backs, compare them side by side, wide receivers, offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, DB. You get this at your fingertips for every game. Here's my computer's projection, 37-35. Here's what I've got on the game. It's got SMU by 1.5 check marks. Florida Atlantic does have a special teams edge. So if you ever want to know who's got the edge special teams-wise, consult your checklist. Who played the tougher schedule? SMU did. Who's got the matchup edges here? I went with SMU. They actually have 50 sacks this year. How about that? 50 sacks. That's pretty good. Florida Atlantic's got 32. That's pretty good as well. So when we're looking at this checklist, you get your checklist on every game, who I've got by and by how much. You get my computer forecast right up here. We're looking at a lot of points, and that's where I'm geared for this game. I'm going with over 69.5, and here's why. If you take a look at a quarterback for SMU, generally a team like SMU's got a mid-range quarterback. Well, they've got a VHT quarterback, Shane Buechele. He was my number 12 rated quarterback out of high school. He's thrown for 3,626 yards. He signed with Texas originally. He started at Texas. So you got a good quarterback. 33 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He's got a pretty electric receiver to throw to in James Prochet. He's made a second-team All-American for the Football Writers Association. You got Xavier Jones at running back, rushing for 1,249 yards. And Freeman's a good running back as well. Take a look. Last year, Freeman was a contributor. Freeman was a rusher here, 543 yards. Freeman was 651 here. He's a senior, a veteran, so they've got a couple of good running backs, a VHT quarterback, dangerous receiver in James Prochet. For Florida Atlantic, they've got a VHT quarterback. Chris Robeson originally signed at Oklahoma. He's my number 16 rated QB. Now, Robeson was much improved this year. Last year, Robeson had a 12-12 ratio. This year, Chris Robeson has 26 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions. So I like that. You've got 2 VHT quarterbacks that can throw it around. This dude here, Harrison Bryant, he's the John Mackey Award winner at tight end. 1,000 yards receiving. They've got other good receivers. And if you look at Bryant, they're starting to use him even more down the stretch. 182 yards against UTSA, 75. And Antone really stepped up with 112 yards here. Once again, the individual player stats available on every game using Phil Steele Plus. Get Phil Steele Plus for free with the Inside the Press Box. And what we've got here, we've got an SMU offense. It's number 10 in the country, averaging 102 yards per game above what their opponent allows. Well, FAU allows 373 yards per game, so that's 475 yards. On the flip side of the coin, FAU's got an offense that averages 72 yards per game above what their opponents allow. Hey, SMU allows 439 yards per game. That's over 500 yards per game for both teams. He's getting why I like the over here. FAU, look at FAU over here. They're averaging 443 yards per game. And that includes playing Ohio State's defense and UCF's defense at the start of the year. So in conference play, 468 yards per game. SMU, meanwhile, averaging 495 yards per game on the season. Look at all the green numbers over here offensively. Look at all the green numbers here offensively. Now look at the amount of red numbers on defense. SMU has given up over 500 yards per game the last 5 games. In fact, 541 yards per game the last 4 weeks. FAU, they played a couple of weak offenses down the stretch, but for the most part, when they play a good offense, they give up a lot of yards. So you've got a lot of red numbers over here, a lot of green numbers here. You've got a defense that gives up 29 yards above their season average, a defense that's middle of the road here. Both teams' offenses are among elite. It's a bowl game. Add it all up, I like over 69.5, and my computer, as mentioned, even not looking at the individual matchup, had this one at 72 points as it is. So I'm going to go with over 69.5. I like the matchups. I like the QBs. And that's going to be your first official bowl play. Now, I'll be back with you next Thursday or Friday. I'll have another one for you. I'll have mostly bowl games there. There won't be as many FCS games. We'll be down to just the championship game for the FCS. So it'll be mostly bowl games next week. I'll have an NFL selection as well. I'll take you through the Phil Steele Plus Tour. I'll get you some more free selections and hopefully remain red hot as we've been going here on the Phil Steele Plus Tour. I'd like to thank you for taking the tour. Make sure you sign up to PressBox, Phil Steele Plus, and make sure you join Bowl Mania by noon on Friday. Join it by noon on Friday because that first Bowl Confidence Contest does go then. And thanks for watching and taking the Phil Steele Plus Tour.